Hey, what's up guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Roccat Horde. That is a membranical, so in other words, a membrane keyboard that's supposed to feel like a mechanical keyboard, an RGB gaming keyboard. Now, this keyboard costs around £90 on Amazon.co.uk. Link will be down in the description below in case you're interested. Now, I couldn't find it in the white version that I've got over here. I think it might be to do with regions, but nevertheless, on Amazon.co.uk you can find it in black and in grey. The non-Aimo version, so the non-RGB version, can be found in white, but obviously this is the RGB variant of it. Now, just to let you know, I've got a US layout keyboard. That's because I got kind of like an exclusive with Roccat in order to see this keyboard. But if you're going to be buying in the UK, I can only presume you'll get a UK layout when you're buying it. Now, you might be wondering, who are its competitors? What would you be buying for the same price? So for around 90 odd pounds, you can get the HyperX Alloy that uses Cherry MX Browns. You got the Fanatic Gear Rush Silent that uses Cherry MX Red Silent, and then you've got the Logitech G213 Prodigy, which is a membrane-based keyboard, but very much like this one, has like a mechanical feel to it, and that costs around £50. So there are a lot of keyboards out there. Those are just three that I've picked out that I've previously seen and reviewed, and which would compare to this keyboard. Now, what makes it special? So first of all, let's talk about the keys. Now, the keys have got different actuation speed. So your normal membrane keyboard, according to Roccat, hits around 9 milliseconds. These mechanical keys, membranical keys, hit 7.6 seconds, while the macro keys on the left-hand side, which are shorter, so not as much in depth, are 5 milliseconds. What does that mean? So it's going to be faster in terms of actuation versus a normal membrane keyboard, but versus a full-blown mechanical keyboard, this can't quite compete. Now, I'm just going to go silent and just type, so that's probably the most important thing for a keyboard, so here we go. Now, the keys themselves sound pretty silent. They're not overly loud. I would say it almost replicates like a Cherry MX Red, which would be like this. Similar, but due to the fact that these keys are a lot shorter, it means that they're a lot more silent. It is great if you're going to be gaming at night, so for example, pressing WASD or even typing away. Now, in terms of the keys themselves, they've got absolutely no wriggling, which is brilliant. In terms of their design, I do find them a little small, so if you compare them to normal keys, as you can see, they're a lot smaller than you'd expect. If I just zoom in, you guys will be able to just see just a little bit better, but you can see the key size difference is quite significant there. So therefore, when I was typing on it, I did find myself sometimes not mishitting, but just getting used to the different spacing of this Roccat Horde Aimo keyboard. Now, the keys are backlit. They're all RGB backlit, so you can customize this through the software, which I'll go in just a bit, via the Swarm software. Now, Swarm software works fine, but it does have a slight delay. It's not quite as responsive as like the Steel series or Logitech variants that I've seen, which automatically update and automatically apply. Don't get me wrong, the Roccat Swarm software does have that as well, but it does take an extra little bit, so it does make it a little bit slower when you want to apply some changes. Now, the keyboard itself is very well built. Other than the RGB keys, you've also got 5 programmable keys, dedicated programmable keys on the left-hand side. You've also got a set of dedicated media keys and a volume dial. This volume dial also doubles up as like a Windows dial function, so therefore if you're using Photoshop, you can actually adjust it with colors. It's actually quite cool in terms of how it's supposed to work. Unfortunately, whatever I tried to do to get it to work as like the Microsoft dial would do, I just couldn't get it for the life of me to work. So I mean, it's a feature and Roccat are advertising it, so I highly doubt that's not the case, but nevertheless I just couldn't figure it out, so there we go. Other than that, the build quality of the keyboard is very good. It's got a braided USB cable. There's no extra USB ports at the top, and as you can see over here, the wrist rest can be removed, but as you can see, I've just attached it on. I would highly suggest it with a wrist rest because it makes it very comfortable. The wrist rest is made out of plastic, so it's not soft, but that said, that's great in terms of taking away sweat and whatnot. Other than that, there's no illumination on the sides as far as I can tell, on the left or right hand sides of the keyboard. It's just on the keys themselves. It is a full-blown keyboard, so it's not a TKL or 60% odd keyboard. It's a full-blown keyboard, so you get all the keys that you want. As I said before, it's a US layout keyboard that's over here, so do bear that in mind. So in terms of its performance, so before I go into the software, I want to talk about this performance of the keys and how they feel. In all honesty, versus other membrane keyboards, it is better than your average, normal, crappy membrane keyboard. But that said, this is a £90 keyboard. How does it compare, say, for example, to the Logitech G213 Prodigy? In all honesty, it performs identical. I didn't really notice a difference between the two, and if anything, I actually preferred the Logitech because of the spacing of the keys. So in terms of typing and from what I'm used to, I would choose the Logitech, which is also significantly cheaper over the Roccat. However, the Roccat has so many different functions, it has so many different features, and via the software you can customize it to your liking. You can macro every single key, which you can do with the Logitech as well, but just the way that this Roccat is action-packed, feature-packed is great. Is that worth the extra money? Well, in terms of performance goes, there's no difference. In terms of you choosing it, in terms of if it's something that you personally would prefer, then of course it's the Roccat Horde will have an advantage over its competitors. So in terms of gaming, in terms of typing, no problems whatsoever, but it doesn't quite replace like a mechanical keyboard, like so. It doesn't quite replace a mechanical keyboard, and I wouldn't buy it over a mechanical keyboard. So if you're deciding between this and say that the HyperX Alloy, I would go for the HyperX Alloy, even though it doesn't have RGB keys and all of these Windows dial functions, which in all honesty, most people, such as gamers like myself, will never use. So bear that in mind. Again, it's up to you in terms of what you choose. Now, let's just go into the software because I think it's quite important for you guys to see the software and visualize it as well. So if I just zoom in over here, you can see the software functions. Now the software, as I said, it works flawlessly. I didn't have any problems with it per se, but it's just a little bit slower and a little sluggish versus the SteelSeries and Logitech rivals. So over here you can see you can have a sound feedback per your keys. I did find it to be a slight delay when I was trying this. Not really something I would recommend. Character repeat, and that's useful if you're going to be using for macros. Key assignment, you can reassign every single key there is on this keyboard to anything you want, including opening up an application, and it works flawlessly when I tried it. Key illumination, so you can see you've got the Aimo intelligent lighting mode. You can have color wave, snake, fully lit, a heartbeat, or even a customized mode. They all work flawlessly, and it just works. Profile manager, you can set up different profiles if you wish for different games. And then other than that, just going into the Aimo function, you can also enable or disable certain of these features like Alien FX, Talk FX, which are just two features which in all honesty are quite gimmicky, but nevertheless if you want to have them enabled you can do so. And obviously Aimo, which is intelligent lighting, which will work with other Roccat products out there. There's also Swarm Connect, which I didn't use. It's simply to connect up your mobile to your to synchronize almost with your keyboard, so you can see what you're typing and a bit of statistics and whatnot. Nothing that really sets the world on fire. So the software works. I had no problems, as I said, but it's not something that I would choose over the SteelSeries or Logitech variants, which in all honesty are a little bit more comprehensive and just a lot faster in terms of their response. So overall, what do I think of this keyboard? Don't get me wrong, it's a nice keyboard, and I know I've gone pretty long depth about all the pros and cons about this keyboard, but personally I think £90 is a bit too much for a non-mechanical keyboard. Yes, it's membranical, but that still means it's a non-mechanical keyboard. In all honesty, for me, I would much rather choose a fully mechanical keyboard with certain functionalities, or even just pay a little bit more than this one and get all the functionalities I would wish with a full mechanical keys. If you're looking for a membrane keyboard or you're on a budget, then the Logitech variant that I suggested, or even the Fanatec Gear Rush, which actually uses Cherry MX switches, are two keyboards I'd recommend over this one. So there we go, guys. That's been my honest opinion of this product. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Make sure you give it a like, subscribe, favorite, share, as it always helps the channel grow. There we go, guys. I've been Totally Dubbed. Take care. Bye bye.